Hello and welcome to UzReport World News, and my name is Bahram Ghafarov. The Chenaz district of the Tashkent region is expected to provide 1.2 thousand youngsters with seasonal work. This was announced when the president visited the place to analyze the work done in the water sector on Thursday.
In a bid to encourage the efficient use of water, Shavkat Mirziyoyev signed a decree on the concept of water management development of Uzbekistan for 2020 and 2030 last year on July the 10th. The concept included the program of introducing water-saving technologies, attract foreign investment in this area. One of the results of this work was the acreage in the village of Yangiabad, Chenaz district. 850 hectares of land have been developed here by attracting investments for $1,350,000. 3 reservoirs with a total capacity of 202,000 cubic meters were built. Drip irrigation was introduced. On 702 hectares of virgin land, double raws will be sown and cotton varieties and the John 72 will be grown under a film. With this purpose, modern seeders were imported, which can simultaneously lay hoses for drip irrigation and cover seeds with a film. Export-oriented melon products will be grown on 148 hectares, part of which will be directed to unemployed youth. In particular, 220 people will be provided with permanent work and more than 1.2 thousand people with seasonal work. President Mirziyoyev also analyzed the activities of the TST cluster rice processing plant in the Kuyuchirchik district of the Tashkent region. The complex is intending to increase the export of rice to $500,000. TST Rice has a full production chain for the cultivation and deep processing of rice. With the adoption of the presidential decree of Uzbekistan dated February 2, 2021, on measures for the further development of the rice cultivation, modern plant was built under the project was more than $2.5 million. It includes a threshing floor, 2 closed warehouses with a total capacity of 15,000 tons, a rice cleaning and drying shop, as well as a processing shop. TST Rice employs 365 people, and the entire cluster employs 8,750 people. The main focus is on increasing exports and developing new markets. In particular, within the framework of the 4-stage project of the cluster for 2021 and 2023, it is planned to export finished textile and clothing products for $140 million.
Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev promised to channel $11.3 billion worth investments towards the development of Tashkent region. As part of his trip to the region on Thursday, he talked to local residents. The purpose of my visit is to create modern conditions in Tashkent region. The population of the region is slightly less than 3 million people. 150,000 of them are unemployed. That's why we should find growth points in each neighborhood, identify those responsible for their use, allocate the necessary funds, and provide people with jobs. It's necessary to improve the supply of drinking water, electricity, roads, education, and other conditions. Some $11.3 billion will be allocated for large and medium-sized projects in the region. No region has ever set goals of this scale, said Mirziyoyev.
The Uzbek economy still lags owing to the existing gaps in the development of financial market. The country's capital on Thursday hosted an international conference titled "The Role of the Financial Market in Stimulating Economic Growth, Legal and Institutional Aspects." Officials, decision makers, entrepreneurs have shared their ideas on how to improve the capital market in Uzbekistan, how to make the investment climate more attractive, pitfalls that hinder economic development.
O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti Shavkat Mirziyoyev parlamentga
In his address, President of Uzbekistan Shavkat Mirziyoyev noted that over the past 4 years, much has been achieved in all spheres of the economy, as well as in the process of introducing the market mechanism. The challenge now is to create a foundation for sustainable growth through deep structural reforms. And one of the most important factors in this direction is the development of the capital market. After all, foreign experience shows that this improves the well-being of the people, helps in the diversification of the capital of companies, raising funds from abroad, the privatization of state-owned enterprises. It also reduces risks in the economy. The difference between rich and poor countries is that in rich countries, land, real estate and finance are converted into capital, while in poor countries the opposite is true. There are no legal and institutional conditions for this, and today we need to talk about solving this problem in Uzbekistan.
Мы путем проб и ошибок
Through trials and errors, we came to the conclusion we need a single regulator. To do this, first you need to clear the banking system, close all unstable banks, and that they should work in accordance with the accountability of world standards and function like commercial banks.
Безусловно, вопросов очень много,
Too many questions have been arising during the past years in our professional community. First of all, they are related to legislation and normative sphere. Too many collusive norms that contradict each other. There is no common development strategy for financial market. This causes intransparency and distrust by local and foreign investors. Everybody wants to invest, but nobody sees the simple way to do so. There is no opportunity for collective investments and jurisdiction on funds and management companies. They're outdated and do not comply with the current requirements. Other issues are related to structuring transactions.
Чтобы зарубежные крупные инвесторы пришли в Узбекистан.
To attract foreign investors from the perspective of capital markets, we talk about portfolio investors. These are large funds that are known by many of you. They own hundreds of trillions of dollars. They own and manage shares of largest companies in the world. We can raise these sources to Uzbekistan through capital market. To do so, we must improve the standards of our exchange management and create liquidity. And we have to get into the indexes. MSCI, for example, the requirements of it are not so complicated. We just need to bring two companies with a capitalization of about $1 billion to our stock exchange. Such companies, to our great joy, are already on our stock exchange. For example, Almalik Mining and Metallurgy combined. It is already listed. Will the suggested recommendations remain undone? I don't think so, because depending on the recommendations, we will be working closely with the Senate and Oli Majlis. The strategy has already been developed. It just has to be confirmed. It has certain suggestions how to eradicate the barriers of bringing investors to Uzbekistan and to privatize the best companies in the country. We have to integrate all the stock exchange companies of the country.
Uzbekistan Update is a daily record for coronavirus cases since the beginning of the year. Some 124 cases of COVID-19 were registered in the country on March 18. 98 patients have recovered.
According to the Health Ministry, most of the cases were registered in the city of Tashkent and the Tashkent region. As of March 18, the number of citizens infected with coronavirus in the country stood at 81,095. Uzbekistan's anti-coronavirus staff member Nurmat Atabekov said that the COVID-19 cases have surged among children in the Republic, denying the rumors that the epidemiological situation has been exaggerated to stimulate the national vaccination campaign.
The disease is on the rise mainly among children, and we plan to vaccinate those over 18 years of age, Atabekov said. Earlier this month, Uzbekistan received the first batch of 660,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine through the COVAX program, as several European countries suspended the use of AstraZeneca, fearing that the registered cases of blood clots could be linked to the vaccination with AstraZeneca. Bahadur Yusupaliyev, Deputy Minister of Health of Uzbekistan, suggested waiting for investigation results. According to him, the vaccination campaign is to start in Uzbekistan after Nowruz. The European Union's medicines regulator has recently concluded that the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is safe to use and not associated with the increase in the overall risk of thromboembolic events or blood clots.
Uzbekistan plans to adopt a new legislation policy aimed to introduce liability for interference in the activities of non-governmental, non-profit organizations. The draft law suggests that officials committing an unlawful offense will be fined from $160 to $230. In case of repeated violation, the fine may rise up to $340. Besides, the judicial authorities will draw up a report on the administrative offense and transfer it to the court. Previously, Uzbekistan did not establish responsibility for such violations.
Regulatory agencies in the EU and Britain on Thursday confirmed AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective. This comes after reports of rare brain blood clots linked to AstraZeneca's vaccine prompted more than a dozen countries to suspend inoculations. Now, many are reversing that decision. The European Medicines Agency issued its conclusion Thursday after an investigation into the claims.
PROC has recommended.
Sabine Strauss leads the agency's risk assessment committee known as PROC.
This vaccine is safe and effective in preventing COVID-19, and its benefits continue to be far greater than its risks. PROC has found no evidence of a quality or a batch issue.
The agency noted there were still some uncertainties regarding blood clots, but after reviewing 20 million people who were given the shot, it said the AstraZeneca vaccine does not increase the overall risks of clots.
Moreover, because the vaccine is effective in preventing COVID-19 disease, which in itself is a cause of blood clots, it likely reduces the risks of thrombotic events overall.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he would get the AstraZeneca shot on Friday.
The Oxford jab is safe and the Pfizer jab is safe. The thing that isn't safe is catching COVID, which is why it's so important that we all get our jabs as soon as our turn comes. And as it happens, I'm getting mine tomorrow.
Germany, Italy, France, and Spain, along with a host of other European countries, said they will resume the use of AstraZeneca's coronavirus vaccine. Other countries, like Sweden, have said they still need more time to make a decision on the matter.
As hospitals run out of intensive care beds, France has been forced to put Paris and other northern regions into a fresh lockdown. All non-essential shops will be closed, travel between regions will be banned, and forms needed to justify leaving home. Schools, however, will remain open, and limited outdoor exercise is permitted. The new measures, which will last a month, mark a hardening of the nightly curfew that's been in place since mid-December. When announcing the restrictions, Prime Minister Jean Castex warned the country was in the grip of a third wave.
The virus has been accelerating for 15 days now. The pressure on hospital systems has increased for a week. The time has come to face the consequences. This means that the measures we are taking today in the most impacted regions could be extended, if necessary, to other areas.
There are currently more COVID patients in intensive care in Paris than at the peak of the second wave. France recorded 35,000 new cases on Thursday, with a highly contagious UK variant making up about 75% of new infections. President Emmanuel Macron had previously resisted calls for another nationwide lockdown, wishing to protect the economy, but was forced to change course owing to the new variant and a faltering vaccine rollout. This week, France and other European countries briefly suspended the use of the AstraZeneca Oxford University vaccine. France is due to resume administering doses on Friday.
Hundreds of taxis streamed through the streets of Barcelona on Thursday as drivers protested against the return of Uber in the city. The ride-sharing app and rival Cabify suspended services in Barcelona in 2019 in response to the regional government's imposition of limits on how they operate in the city. The Catalan government ruled that ride-hailing services could only pick up passengers after a 15-minute delay from the time they were booked. Uber is now offering an interim service that uses metered fares until it is authorised to implement a fixed-price tariff. It's a move that's angered taxi drivers like Sylvia.
They are working with taxis but not applying the rates we have. They apply a dynamic rate and we don't work like that. We demand that, if they have to work with the app, at least they do it under the same rules we comply with.
Uber said in a statement Monday, "Today we move again in Barcelona, but we do not do it alone. We do it hand in hand with all those cab drivers who, like us, think that offering a good service comes first."
Volkswagen shares are on a tear. The auto giant's stock has surged by around a fifth just this week and was up as much as 9% on Thursday alone. It later pared some of those gains, but remains close to 6-year highs. Germany's market regulator is watching. A spokeswoman for the BaFin agency said it was monitoring the move in a routine way, but she didn't elaborate on what that meant. VW shares have surged more than 50% this year, helped by a raft of recent announcements. Only this week the firm lifted its target for electric vehicle sales and said it would build 6 big battery factories. It's all part of a drive to challenge Tesla in the market for zero-emission cars. Barclays analysts say institutional and retail investors have warmed to the stock as a result. The share price surge has lifted VW's market value above $160 billion. That has made it the most valuable firm on Germany's DAX index, ahead of software maker SAP.
Rising Treasury yields and coronavirus concerns sent Wall Street south Thursday. The benchmark Treasury yield spiked to a 14-month high one day after the Fed ramped up its U.S. growth forecast, and that hurt rate-sensitive tech stocks like Apple and Amazon. Stocks tumbled further after France declared a lockdown in Paris and other regions. The Nasdaq dropped 3%. The S&P 500 and Dow both retreated from record highs, with the S&P down 1.5% and the blue chip index falling 0.5%. Thomson Reuters technical analyst Terence Gabriel says the charts signal that Treasury yields will continue to rise even though the Fed has vowed to keep rates low.
It continues to be a situation where we have to watch rising yields very closely, but also watching the levels on the NASDAQ, given the fact that that index peaked in mid-February.
Over on the big board, Dollar General shares dropped nearly 5%. The discount retailer warned that the rush to stock up on cheaper goods amid the health crisis may be waning faster than expected as the economy reopens. But shares of AMC Entertainment, which got slammed last year as people stayed home, rose 3%. The movie theater operator said 98% of its U.S. locations would be open starting Friday.
Google announced Thursday that it plans to invest over $7 billion in the U.S. this year and create at least 10,000 new full-time jobs. The spending is specifically earmarked for offices and data centers in the U.S. as the tech giant copes with the surge in online traffic driven by more users and advertisers flocking to the web during the health crisis. The total spending number, however, is down compared to the past 2 years. As for its home state of California, Google plans to spend $1 billion at a time when other firms are leaving Silicon Valley. The area has seen a corporate exodus as of late due to complaints of high rents and high state taxes. Google's spending plans come amid ongoing scrutiny of its business practices. Sources tell Reuters Justice Department investigators are probing whether a Google plan to limit the use of online user tracking software known as cookies will harm the competition. The U.S. has been investigating Google's search and ad business for antitrust behavior for nearly 2 years and sued Google in October for allegedly using anti-competitive tactics to maintain the dominance of its search engine. Congress has also been exploring Google parent Alphabet and fellow tech giants Facebook, Apple, and Amazon for anti-competitive behavior. Shares of Google parent Alphabet up about 18% so far this year.
So far, these were the latest news for today. Goodbye. Take care.